just being live a second ago, I would like to sincerely apologize, not only for the audio, as we know it's very echoey. I'm currently doing this live show here not only out west for your guy Wardy, but here on location in a hotel room because we have the nice lighting here in the bathroom. So this is what we're going to rock with, everybody, and we have to continue our live show from what we were just doing a second ago as the Mets took down the Kansas City Royals by a final score of 3-1. So we're going to further share our thoughts and analysis from that ball game, everybody. In case you guys are wondering what was happening up until the show, up until that point, just check out part 1 on the platform. We'll have a part 1 and part 2 for you guys to check out in case you missed it beforehand, and I do sincerely apologize to everybody that I just had that hiccup with, but we're back, we're rocking this one. Unfortunately, it just completely cut out on me without me having any control. That is what happens when you're relying on hotel Wi-Fi to be your saving grace. It isn't always going to work in your favor, unfortunately, but that's okay. We got to roll with the punches and get right back into breaking this one down. So in case you guys did not hear from our previous post-game show, the previous 20 minutes, we were breaking down this big series victory for the Mets by a final score of 3-1. Thanks to our amazing sponsors for making the show happen today. And not only BetUS that has you covered for all of your casino needs, but as well as SeatGeek that has you covered on the ticketing front. Make sure to utilize WardyNYM for 10% off your next ticket purchase. But shout out to Steve Lawn, as always, great member. Carlos, Truman in the chat, JoJo, CJ, all you guys chiming in. Zach Flaherty, Scott Sandler, Steve, as always, Juan Diaz, all you guys chiming in live at a replay. I do apologize for the hiccup from a second ago, everybody, but we're going to get right back into this one, and we're going to get right back to breaking down this ball game, part 2 of our post-game show today. Again, I apologize for that, everybody, but we got to continue to roll on what we got right now, because where we were at was the fact that the Mets were up 2-0, and this was after Frankie Montas got himself out of a first-inning jam where Montas had a leadoff double that he gave up to Jonathan India, but he escapes it unscathed. Montas has a 1-2-3 second inning. He has a clean third inning. And then as we get to the fourth, everybody, who has himself a swing and a drive for a home run, and would, of course, be there in Juan Soto. The one and only blasting his 23rd home run of the year. Gave the Mets at the time a 2-0 lead that we saw there just throughout the first 4 innings of this ball game. And as we continue on from everybody, we're going to piggyback right where we left off after that Juan Soto home run that gave the Mets a 2-0 lead. And after we saw there the Mets go up 2, Mark Vientos, who cleared the bases with a right center gap double yesterday to give the Mets the ultimate lead in victory that we saw there. Vientos stripped himself a single that we saw up the middle, and then that did it for the inning as Tyrone Taylor would strike out swinging. At the bottom of the fourth, we see another clean inning work there for Frankie Montas as he works around the 1-out single from Vinny Pasquantino without a problem, everybody, getting us set there then for the top of the 5th. At the top of the 5th, we would see the following: Beatty, Torrens, Nemo. 1, 2, 3, you're out of here. Nothing from the Mets batters there. So then, folks, we get to the bottom of the 5th, minding Frankie Montas' final inning of the day, and he has a 1, 2, 3 and Jack Conglione, Nick Lofton, and John Rave. Frankie Montas' day is done, but not before having a rock-solid outing. Montas goes 5 innings, 4 hit, 1 earned run, 0 walk, 5 strikeout baseball. Montas, we are going to give a grade today, in my humble opinion, after going 5 rock-solid innings. Frankie Montas gets an easy 6 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. I could even argue 6.5. I think 6 or 6.5 is definitely reasonable for Montas, who went 5 strong for this Mets team today. If you really want me to be nice, then I can push 7, but I'm more closer to 6 than I am 7, so maybe let's just be in the middle, right around 6.5. Montas didn't necessarily give the Mets a link today, but what he did was give them quality. He wasn't walking everybody and their mother. He was getting some big punchies, 5 strikeouts over 5. I'm never going to complain about that. So that's what I'm going to go with Frankie Montas on his final line today, everybody. But I would love to hear from you guys, everybody, in the live chat and the comments down below. How would you grade Frankie Montas on a scale of 1 to 10? And I know Daniel Cap's great member in the chat. Diaz's 1.66 ERA is unreal. That in itself is an understatement, my friend. Edwin Diaz has been nothing short of nails. He's allowed just simply 1 earned run that we have seen there going back towards the end of April. So when you think of Bulldogs in roughly 30 innings, only allowing 1 earned run and having 40 strikeouts in doing so, step right up and meet Mr. Edwin Sugar Diaz. Cue the trumpets and cue shutting the door down in both the 8th and the 9th innings. Spam in the chat, guys, again, how you would grade Frankie Montas on a scale of 1 to 10 today. But as we continue on and get back here to the hiccup with my intro running for a hot second. As we continue on here, though, in the 6th inning, guys, Lindor, Soto, and Alonso go down 1, 2, 3. And the bottom of the 6th, We see Kyle Isbell rip himself his 10th double of the season, everybody. And after Isbell ripped his 10th double of the year, Jonathan India continues the big swing against the Mets. Again, Jonathan India, who grew up a diehard Mets fan, a New York native or so, and I know his dad absolutely loves the Mets to this day. Going back a couple years ago, India said that his dad actually prioritizes watching the Mets over his son a lot of times, which is insane to me. But that's a discussion for another day. India's second double of the day, this time a productive one. He drives in a run and makes it a one-run ball game with his 21st double of the season. It's 2-1 Mets, and then afterwards, everybody, we would see Reed Garrett come in, and Reed Garrett unfortunately has a throwing error there, trying to get the pick off, and then Bobby Witt thankfully pops out. Huge out on Bobby Witt Jr. Then he gets the ground out of Vinny Pasquantino, and a huge flat of Miguel Garcia. Reed Garrett comes in, and he works around there, and the one man at second base in Jonathan India, and India is stranded at second for the second time in this ball game. As we continue on from here, folks, in the 7th, we would see a 1-2-3 from Marky V to Jeff McNeil to Tyrone Taylor, and that does it there, everybody, for the top of the 7th. In the bottom of the 7th, we would see the following: Salvador Perez there with a leadoff walk as Chris Davinsky comes in. After the Sally Perez walk, there is a one-out hit by pitch to Nick Lofton, which you don't love to see. But what you do love to see is John Ray grounded out on a force out. There's a great turn there that we saw by that Mets infield, starting with Luis Angel Acuna, and then Kyle Isbell towards the bottom of the order. More like Kyle, oh my goodness, you stink bell. He gets out there for the final out of the inning, and the Mets are still up by 1 as we head to the 8th. In the 8th inning, everybody, here comes the Amazons. They're trying to get more done. Brett Beatty swings and misses. He's out of here. We see Mr. Luis Torrens, after ripping a double, his 10th of the season there, he's out of here swinging and missing. Brandon Nimmo with a 2-out walk, and that has a runner there on, but Francisco Lindor would ground out to Lucas Erceg, who many were wondering why wasn't Erceg in the ball game yesterday, and I'm still wondering that myself. Thankfully, that didn't happen for one reason or another. And as we get to the bottom of the 8th inning, everybody, the Mets in order. We see Bobby Witt Jr. gets on there with a 1-out walk because here comes Edwin Diaz. But then after the challenge, folks, the Mets would go in and win it. Bobby Witt Jr. thinks he has another comfortable stolen base there where he is an absolute speed demon. The best true shortstop in baseball, not named Francisco Lindor. The best shortstop in all the American League, in my opinion. Bobby Witt Jr. is a man possessed, and he's only getting better in his young age. But thankfully, somehow, some way, Harrison Freeland and the Mets replay room team got the job done. They made the right call, and he was, in fact, out by just a hair at second base. It's overturned. Obviously, you see everybody and their mother on the rules side of things too upset about it, understandably so. And then Vinny Pasquantino strikes out swinging because Edwin Diaz was cooking big time, and that does it there for the 8th. Now we get set. The stage is set, everybody. 9th inning. Mets up by 1. Can they add insurance? Absolutely, the Mets could add insurance. And the Mets add insurance by the Polar Bear. Pete Alonso would go ahead and rip himself his 26th double of the season. He puts himself in scoring position for Jeff McHits, and Jeff McHits more like Jeff McRBIs. McNeil rips himself a single up the middle that goes in and drives in Alonso, and the Mets are up 3-1, and they would be up 3-1 as we head to the bottom of the 9th inning. So now the great question is, everybody, what happens in the bottom of the 9th? This is what we got to break down. It is the following. Miguel Garcia lines out. Salvador Perez grabs out, and Jack Caglione, we would see line out, and that does it. Edwin Diaz shuts down the door the best way that he knows how. What a stud muffin he has been in the case of Edwin. Edwin here, you guys can see, goes 2 shutty for the Mets in this one. Mets bullpen grade, I'm giving it easy. I'm trying to think what I want to grade them today. Mets bullpen between Garrett, Davinsky, Diaz. I mean, I'll just do Mets pitching in general. I know I graded just Montas. Now I'll grade the entire pitching staff today. The entire pitching staff for the Mets today gets a fat, easy 9 out of 10. They were fantastic today. Absolutely dominated, kept the Mets in the ball game this entire time, and that's important because the Mets did not have a lot of offense going in this ball game, as we know, everybody. And thank you guys everyone watching live on a replay as we are doing a part 2 of our first post-game segment there. For those that didn't see earlier, we were live there just a couple minutes ago, but unfortunately I had a hiccup, and that's why we had to do this again. Let's see here. Martino, I did see that Martino reported about the Mets considering a trade for PCA back 2 years ago. I don't care. I mean, it really took over 2 years for that to come out. I mean, why should I give a rat's ass about that being considered under a previous regime, under previous, not ownership, but under a previous GM? I quite literally couldn't give less of a you-know-what, if I'm being completely honest with you. So I'm going to focus on the current team and not stuff that almost happened when it wasn't even close to happening 2+ years ago. They had a phone call. It did not get deep in discussions from what I heard in the industry. And that's about that, everybody. So in regards to PCA and Alonso, that's the past. Let's talk about the present, which is the Mets winning this series here. First 2 games out of a 3-game set as they now look for the series sweep mañana here tomorrow, this Sunday, between the Mets and the Kansas City Royals. They're in Kansas City. Jose B, great member. Happy to have you in here. Steve Lawn, as always, great member. Kevin Flores, Zach Flaherty, all you guys chiming in. You guys are absolutely amazing. Appreciate you all so much as we break down the latest. So the Mets offense did its thing as well. They did just enough because, like I said, the offense was not sexy in this ballgame. They did what they needed to do. And when we expand more on this offense in particular, everybody, what was working about it versus what wasn't, well, the Mets with runners in scoring position today did bat 5 hundos, so let's take that for what it is. The Mets continue to get the job done. Yesterday, I believe that they were 3 for 8 or so. Today, they are now 2 for 4, batting a nice 5 hundo. Listen, they didn't get a lot of runners on base, but when they did, they were productive, and that's a very important thing. So I want to give a huge shout out to the boys who stepped up, and the one and only Juan Soto on home runs of back-to-back games, going back-to-back ding-dongs yesterday with Lindor. Today with a huge bomb there in the waterfall there, we saw Juan Soto's up to a 266 average or so and over 900 OPS. Absolute dog. We love that. Juan Soto has more home runs in his first 96 games to start his career versus any other season in his past. He has more home runs in his first 96 games that he did with the Yankees last year. He has more home runs than any other season prior, not even 100 games in, which leads us to say the Mets are getting the best out of Juan Soto. Who could fathom such a thing for the $765 million man with $100 million in total gross pay from his base salary to his signing bonus? It really does equate to $100 million. No, I'm not joking when I say that. It's insane. So we need Juan Soto to be as close to at least a $100 million player as he can be this season. And the best way for him to do that is to go out and play his game. Soto did his job. We love to see that, everybody. And as we break down this Mets lineup as a whole, WardyNYM went 0 for this one, 259 average, but just under 800 OPS. We love Brandon. Lindor in this one, 263 average, just under 800 OPS. Soto, 265 average. I apologize for being 0.1 off there. And a 915 OPS. The Poor Bear, 281 average, 905 OPS. Vientos, 218 average, 625 OPS. Slowly but surely climbing his way up there that we see in Marky V. Acuna, who came in later in this ballgame, 233 with a 557. McNeil, 249 average, 790 OPS. Tyrone Taylor, 207 average, 571 OPS. Brett the Hitman, who played second and third today. Beatty, 227 average, 688 OPS. And Luis Torrens, 209 average of 594 OPS. Francisco Alvarez, we cannot wait to see return. He'll be back, I'm sure, shortly after the All-Star break. The Mets were absolutely keeping him down because they gained a full year of control on his contract and his eligibility to hit the free agent market. I know it's kind of roster manipulation and you don't love to hear it, but at the same time, the Mets didn't really have an immediate need to have Alvarez back on the club right now because they're succeeding without him. So you might as well not rush as he continues to develop and try to get himself right after having the ruts and the inconsistencies that he had big time this season, both offensively and defensively. And if you guys want to know more of Wardy's opinions on Alvarez, check out previous content I've done on the platform. Over our past 2 pre-recorded videos, we broke down Alvarez in great length and what is going so right with him, and former MLB catcher and current, I believe, bench coach for the Syracuse Mets and JPR and Sebia, and how much he's absolutely lifting this man up versus how much it honestly felt like, contrastingly, a guy like Eric Chavez was doing the opposite of that after his rookie breakout year in 2023. But to expand here, everybody, Mets offense did what they needed to do here. They had a total hits of the following 6, which out hit the Royals by 2 in this one. And the Mets again go on to win this one here, folks, by a final score of ultimately 3-1. That is about going to do it here for our post-game show, everybody, because we were just live a second ago there on YouTube as well on our first half edition of this post-game show. So I'm going to put part 1 and part 2 for you guys to check out. PB9, I hope you were fantastic. I can't wait to show off what you sent my way. I'm just out of town right now, otherwise I would. Same thing with my guy Dave Kaplitz. Love you guys both to death. Again, thank you guys all so much for watching. I greatly do appreciate that. And please make sure to hit that like and subscribe on your way in and on your way out. It really does mean a lot, everybody. But that is about going to do it for our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show. So thank you guys kindly for watching. Please let us know all your big takeaways in the comments down below here. Your thoughts on the Mets taking the first 2 games. First, they took big game 1 yesterday, 8-3. Thanks to Mark Vientos clearing the bases. Thanks to Lindor and Soto going back-to-back ding-dongs late in that ball game there. And today, they get the job done. They do exactly what they need to do. Now let's see if the boys can go ahead and secure themselves the series sweep manana. Until then, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this, and be on the lookout for more Mets content, regardless on how unorthodox the audio might be. Now that we're out of town for the weekend, heading into the All-Star break, the grind never stops here to pump out content for each and every one of you. Let's effing go Mets, baby. Let's go ahead and get that series sweep tomorrow. Until then, have a great one, folks. And as always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Shout out to SeatGeek, WardyNYM for 10% off your next ticket purchase. BetUS, utilize the promo code YouTube150 when you head over to betus.com.pa today. That way you two get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, guys. And as you guys can see, once more, if you guys want to get in on the action, stolen base odds heading into today's game, plus 875. If you hammer that for Lindor, you came out like an absolute bandit as he stole his 15th bag and his 200th career stolen bag today. And this series victory in Kansas City against those Royals. So BetUS has you covered. Bet responsibly, everybody. Shout out everyone for checking out in advance our Wardy Day tickets that are still available in the description down below, in the comments down below. August 1st, Citi Field. Hang out with your guy Wardy. Full all game you're going to be hanging out with me there in the left field lounge. Pre-game on-field access for a group photo, $18 drink voucher. We're going to have an absolute blast on the fireworks night that Friday, the day after the MLB trade deadline. It's going to be electric. I cannot wait to see you guys there. Check out tickets that are still available for those that have interest down below. And I'll see you all again real soon.